Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we are primarily talking about Tesla's numbers for August in China. We've got data from the China Passenger Car Association on both sales and production, so we're going to talk about that and the implications of that for the rest of Q3. Then we do have a couple of other items as well. Nice day for Tesla today though, again finishing up 2% on the day to close at $289.26, while the Nasdaq today was up 0.6%. I'm getting in the habit of saying the Nasdaq is down, but up for the last couple of days, 0.6% today. So let's get into the CPCA numbers. So I think we're again exclusively reporting on these this month. So not to bury the lead at all, production this month for Tesla in Shanghai was a record 76,605 vehicles. That was about 20,000 Model 3 and just shy of 57,000 Model Y. Previously, the record had been about 71,000 vehicles produced in June. So we have seen Tesla set a new record at Shanghai, somewhat expected, but Tesla did have downtime during the quarter. Remember, the Model 3 line was down the entire first week of August. Tesla, for the rest of the month, averaged 5,800 Model 3s per week. So if we exclude that downtime, Tesla would have pretty easily been over 80,000 vehicles in August. And if we annualize that, gets us really, really close to 1 million vehicles per year in terms of the production rate. So as we move forward to September, which we're going to talk about here in a second, we should see Tesla hit that level, which is extremely exciting for a factory that's built 3 years ago. This will probably at that time be the most productive car factory in the world. So it's insane. There are a couple of other things that are insane here that I'm going to talk about in a second, but just to kind of put this August number in perspective, as I said, it's a record. But what's also important is that Tesla, for the first 2 months in Q3, has already surpassed Q2 for Shanghai. So the entirety of Q2, we know we had those COVID lockdowns. Tesla produced 115,229 vehicles. Here in just July and August, despite the downtime for production upgrades, Tesla's produced 115,324. So about 100 more vehicles in 2 months versus 3 months. So as we move into September, we should easily see 50% growth quarter over quarter from Shanghai production, assuming Tesla is able to keep production up most of the month, which we're already, a little bit over a week in. So hopefully that will continue for the last few weeks of the quarter. So definitely excited about that. In terms of sales, we did see the sales numbers reported as well. So this came out earlier this morning, but Tesla sold domestically in China, so retail sales 34,500. They exported another 42,500, so just shy of 77,000 vehicles is our wholesale sales number. And remember, what's probably most important for us to look at with that is it in context with production. So with production being right around 77,000, sales also being right around 77,000, that means there's going to be this continued backlog of inventory that Tesla's got carrying in from July that will now carry forward into September. So remember when we had talked about the July numbers, Tesla had produced 10,000 more vehicles than they sold. That's kind of a tailwind. We've looked at the spreadsheet where in that middle month, it's usually production in between, a couple thousand vehicles of where sales come in at. And then in the final month of the quarter, we always see sales outpacing production. So when we're talking about September production in excess of 80,000 vehicles, they're also going to have this tailwind from a sales perspective of those 10,000 vehicles that are still sitting in inventory produced earlier this quarter. So we should get a September sales figure above 90,000. A couple months back, we're in the 28,000 range, obviously with that downtime, but just goes to show the progress that Tesla's making and what their numbers can be when they're not saddled by all of these external factors. Still, though, we do have to keep an eye on those. So as we talked about earlier this week or late last week, the lockdowns that are happening in Chengdu, they were scheduled to end on Thursday. Those are now extended indefinitely. Remember, there is some closed loop factory work happening there, so hopefully no impacts to supply chain, even if those lockdowns persist or extend to other locations, but still something to continue to keep an eye on. Obviously, in the first half of the quarter or the first half of the year, we've seen how impactful that stuff can be. So I want to hop over quickly into Excel here and just put this in a little bit more context. Not going to be anything too in-depth, but if we look at our production tracking spreadsheet here, we can now see that through the first 2 months, that's what I was talking about, 115,000. What I want to focus in on though is Model Y production. So as I said, 56,700 vehicles. And the context I want to look at here is how quickly this has expanded from Tesla's previous record. If we scroll up here, we can see that Tesla was running at 25, popped up to 38,000, dipped back down a little bit. Now up to 46,000 was the record in June, 47,000. So after this, 2-3 week downtime that Tesla had in July for the Model Y, they have already increased their output by 10,000 vehicles per month in 3 weeks. This is extremely underappreciated. If we do some math on that, 10,000 vehicles per month, that's 120,000 vehicles per year, $50,000 selling price on those vehicles. That's $6 billion in additional revenue at probably a 30%, 25% gross margin, somewhere in that ballpark. You're talking close to $2 billion in terms of what that gross margin contribution is from this 3-week downtime that Tesla took in Shanghai in July. And that's just the Model Y line. We've got a same or similar impact happening with Model 3 to a lesser extent. Really, they're just trying to get that up to levels that they've been at before, but with less resources dedicated to them. Some of those have shifted from Model 3 to Model Y over time. So Tesla trying to get this back up to kind of where it was previously. So point being, with such a short period of time, they've been able to expand their capacity so significantly. I mean, that's more than most other electric vehicle makers are doing in total in terms of their production. Talking that 100,000 level, and Tesla was able to add that capacity in just a few weeks. So extremely impressive. As we move into September, I've just got a rough forecast in here of 87,000 vehicles. That basically assumes a small improvement in the production rate that we've seen here for August. So covering up that a little bit, but you can see the weekly production rate for Model Y was 12,800. I'm forecasting that to increase by about 500 vehicles per week in September, just assuming that Tesla continues to benefit from efficiencies as they re-ramp up after that production downtime. So that's kind of what I'm expecting there. And then hopefully we see a big jump in Model 3. I know Tesla is targeting somewhere around this 20,500 vehicle per week level. This is 20,300. So I think it's pretty reasonable. We did see, again, that 5,800 per week, but like we had seen in July for the Model Y, there are some ramping up inefficiencies that Tesla's got to overcome with the Model 3 that are going to be affecting this number in August, hopefully less effective on that number in September. So I think that's pretty reasonable. Again, that gets us to over 200,000 vehicles from Shanghai in Q3, a pretty significant record. 180,000 was the record from Q1, but that's with July being at half production rate, some impact in August as well. So if we're at that 87,000 vehicle per month level, again, that's a run rate of about 1,050,000 vehicles per year, and hopefully some additional room to expand beyond these production rates. So I'm extremely excited about what Tesla is being able to accomplish here in Shanghai. I think it continues to be underappreciated. In terms of the total for Q3, we should easily see Tesla set a record for production, which we actually have not seen happen so far this year. Remember in Q4 we had just shy of 306,000. Tesla fell a few hundred vehicles short of that record in Q1, and then of course the downtime for COVID shutdowns in Q2 have caused the first half of the year to not have a record-setting quarter in terms of production. Obviously, the financials have been a little bit different for Q1, but as we move into Q3, Tesla should easily surpass that. Even if we just add, the same production from Fremont, Berlin, and Texas, that was about 143,000 vehicles combined before. That gets you up to 345,000. Plus, we should see some improvements from all three of these factories for Q3. So whatever improvement you want to throw on there, I'm roughly at 20,000. I'll have my forecast out on Chairlift and everything like that relatively soon, but that's sort of the ballpark that we're talking about for Q3. I guess not even the ballpark, but sort of the baseline for Q3 would just be layering on top of that Q2 production that we saw from those other factories. As we know, Tesla should be able to be increasing those significantly this quarter. So I'm excited about the numbers. I think as we move into Q4, even still, there's, hopefully that'll be the first quarter where we actually have Shanghai running at full capacity for the majority of the quarter. There'll still be a little bit of downtime, but not anything like we have seen so far. All right, so let me hop back to the browser here, and we just have a couple of other quick stories. Find that. All right. So Teslarati today reporting that Tesla has added a significant number of new job listings for their Megafactory in Lathrop. So they've added, just in the last week, 50 plus new positions. we know that this is around the time where Tesla should be expected to start to ramp this up based on what Tesla has talked about at a couple of different occasions in the past. So it's exciting to see this continue to happen. Elon recently mentioned that hopefully by the end of the year, Powerwall supply should kind of catch up and they should be able to expand orders for Powerwall. So obviously Megapack a different product, but hopefully some of the same tailwinds that are benefiting Powerwall supply will also apply to Megapack as well across the total energy business. So exciting to see some progress on that. Elon today also had a couple of comments on Tesla service. So somebody was asking, hey, if I reschedule my appointment within 24 hours, I get charged $100. Tesla can reschedule on me without sort of any penalty. So Elon basically saying, yeah, it should be reciprocal. If Tesla has to reschedule, Tesla owners should get a $100 credit. And then he also added that he is putting a lot of time personally into Tesla service to make it awesome. Hopefully this is starting to be felt by Tesla owners. So I know there's a wide variety of service experiences across different owners and different locations particularly. Personally, my experience has already been awesome with Tesla service the entirety of my ownership. I know it's a wide band, so hopefully Tesla's narrowing that in and more people shifting over to having those good experiences. I know Elon has made comments like this in the past, but whenever he does put his focus on things, there tends to be some progress in those areas. So hopefully we'll see that and feel that as Elon is mentioning here. Next, we've got an update from Tesla Charging. As Elon had alluded to, I think at the shareholder meeting, Tesla is going to start doing some voting for supercharging locations, which I think is interesting. We'll see how effective it ends up being, especially the style. They say reply with location suggestions, replies with the most likes will be included in the poll. I don't know if they're doing a Twitter poll or if they'll do that on their website, but looks like at least they're trying to solicit some sort of feedback here in terms of location selection, which, I suppose can't hurt, and hopefully at least alerts them to some areas of need. Could be, meme based on how they're structuring this, but we'll see how that goes. And again, hopefully it leads them to make some stronger decisions on locations in totality. So those are kind of the Tesla things. Then we do have a couple of general automotive things. Mercedes-Benz and Rivian today have announced a new partnership on electric van production. So we already know Rivian's got a massive order for, I think, 100,000 vans over a 10-year time period from Amazon. Now they're partnering with Mercedes-Benz on production. They say that they're going to be making 2 large vans, or they aim to produce 2 large vans, and that they intend to establish a new joint venture company for manufacturing, investing in, and operating a factory in Europe to produce those vans for both Mercedes-Benz and Rivian starting in a few years. So right now it's just a memorandum of understanding, no firm agreements on this, no firm production plans or anything like that, but sounds like they've got a product strategy and an investment partnership for a couple of vans together. So I think it's a good move for both companies, to be honest. I think Rivian will benefit from having that security. I think they've benefited from having the security of those Amazon orders. And I think Mercedes-Benz will benefit from leveraging what seems to be some good product technology that Rivian has had so far. I think the big question for both of them is manufacturing and scaling and margins and costs and all of those things, which are huge questions, but hopefully beneficial for both companies in this case. We'll see. Then we've also got an update from GM. They've announced some more specific details on the EV Equinox. So this is scheduled to launch late next year, late 2023. And we learned today that it is expected to have a range based on various different trims here. There are 5 different trims, a couple hiding around the corner here. But 5 different trims. They'll have ranges from 250 miles to 300 miles. They say this is GM's estimate, so not necessarily an EPA rating or anything like that yet. But historically, GM, I think, has been pretty good with their estimates compared to what the EPA range ends up being. So likely will be in that ballpark. And they do say that this will start around $30,000. So we don't know exactly what the price will be, but definitely a lot of range for a decent price, especially when you have the possibility of layering in the investment or the Inflation Reduction Act electric vehicle tax credit changes. Obviously still TBD on that too. Not sure where exactly GM would be sourcing the batteries, but they are using the Ultium packs here in the new EV Equinox. So I would say, sort of in the Bolt category, obviously a bigger vehicle, but kind of filling in that same price point range for Chevy. right, and then lastly today, just a quick update on SpaceX and Apple. We had talked yesterday about the iPhone 14 announcement, Apple saying that will partner with Globalstar for emergency connectivity to low Earth orbit satellites from Globalstar. Obviously, T-Mobile and SpaceX working on different but services that provide more connectivity in remote locations. Elon today commenting that they have actually had some promising conversations with Apple about Starlink connectivity, saying iPhone team is obviously super smart. For sure, closing link from space to phone will work best if phone software and hardware adapt to space-based signals versus Starlink purely emulating cell tower. So it's interesting to hear that. I'm not sure Apple is probably super happy with Elon for disclosing that they're having those conversations. Apple tends to be as secretive as possible, but that would be huge if there is some potential collaboration there between, one of the most valuable companies in the world and one of the most exciting companies in the world with SpaceX. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that, but otherwise that will wrap it up for today. So as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you are subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can find me on Twitter @TeslaPodcast, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Friday, September 9th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.